Those of you who've been following our channel from the beginning probably remember that when we first opened up our water tanks, we were kind of shocked at how much black mold and didn't really think that they were really that great. And so the owners group said that you can take them out and you can grind down the blisters and bring them to your workshop. But we were cruising and we didn't have a workshop. And I didn't really think we were going to be able to fix these. So of the 2 water tanks, I basically removed one, had it disposed of. And so all we have left was this one, which is the starboard water tank. So thankfully now, though, with the help of my friend Jeff H., we're going to refurbish this water tank. So that's what this episode is all about.
So this is actually in pretty good shape. You know, that's not actually a blister. That was a drip in the resin that just got badly coated with the gel coat. I mean, there's a few places here and here that look like you had a blister, but most of this looks like it's in really good shape. There's areas here where the laminate's exposed. I think that was areas where the adhesive just pulled off the gel coat. We'll coat that. The bigger issue, of course, is what's going on these fins. They're all solid fiberglass, which makes them pretty easy to repair. We'll peel off the gel coat there with the grinder. But that's all pretty easy to repair. So the first thing you're going to be doing is grinding off all the loose glass on here.
Okay.
And you'll be using the grinder for that. There's a plug that's right here.
Okay.
And the other end of it's up there. That I'll show you to plug that in.
Okay.
There's work lights here and here, and I'll show you where to plug those in.
Okay.
You want to wear goggles, face mask, and you're going to want to work so that you're not in the plane of this. This is going to throw a lot of stuff out.
Right.
So you want your head on this side of it, and you want to work with the pad pretty much flat against there.
Okay.
Take the material off to about here.
Okay.
And we do the same thing on each of these, about the same height. Take off the gel coat. You're going to come down to fiberglass laminate under there,
right,
which is this or that, and you stop when you hit that laminate.
Okay.
And that's the edge of where the fiberglass turns up. There's a fillet you can see here, right here, and we're cutting to the top of that fillet. So once the white is gone, once you start seeing fiberglass, that's all you're going to do. We're not going to replace that fillet.
Okay.
Now, I'm not 100% convinced we're going to coat this whole thing with epoxy, but we probably will. You also have some areas like here where the gel coat's coming away. And you're just going to take the grinder and run it down that edge until you see fiberglass.
Okay.
That's going to be 5 minutes of grinding.
Okay.
You don't want to cut into that fiberglass other than just get rid of the white. Otherwise, I think the fiberglass is all in pretty good shape. We're just going to seal it. So, what you're going to do is you'll be drilling a hole somewhere inside here.
Okay.
We're going to put this up on those 2x4s, get it up off the tabletop so you don't. And then you're going to take the jigsaw and you put it in that hole, and then you get your head over it so you can see what you're doing. And you're going to start from the hole that you made till you hit the edge. And you're going to work your way around the edge, cutting it out. And you're going to cut to the edge of that, outside edge of that line. I'm going to make that line fat.
Okay.
I didn't want to put ink all over the bottom of your piece there, but we'll make that line fat, and you're going to cut to the outside edge of it. It doesn't have to be perfect because you have this margin. In fact, if it's not perfect, you're better off than if it is perfect, because you have this margin between the screw hole and here. So a little bit of slop in there is actually good. It gives us a place for the caulk to get and everything else.
Okay.
people toss around the term coring a lot, and not everybody has ever seen what the core looks like. When a core is in good shape, it's white like this. It's balsa, and it's sealed at one end where it's touching the inside of the water tank, and sealed on the other end where it's up against the gel coat at the top of the tank. And because of the way the resin works, you can see it soaks up into the fibers of the balsa, and that seals the ends of the balsa. Balsa typically can't rot unless water can move this way through the end grain of the balsa. That's what they talk about, end grain balsa. Now this is that wet balsa that we saw before, and you can see that water is soaked all the way up into the sides of the balsa. And this is what balsa shouldn't look like. Now, this balsa is not actually rotten, it's just wet. But leave it wet for a while, and it gets rotten, and we saw what the rotten balsa looked like. Because we pulled a bunch of it out. It looks like that.
And is this what most sailboats are, the decks are made out of?
This is state of the art for sailboat even today.
Okay.
Balsa has tremendous resistance to shear. In other words, the inside here wants to move one way, the outside wants to move the other. This balsa is really good at transferring between the two. It acts like the web of a steel beam. So, or an I-beam, as I think most people would call it. So it's really good at that, and it's really light for the amount of shear resistance it has. However, if it gets wet, it has problems. There's no core that doesn't have problems. Foam has a problem with freeze and thaw, and some early foams had a problem with heat. And of course, science has gotten much better on the foam, and at this point they can almost match the core properties of balsa. Everybody thinks balsa is a cheap way to build a deck. It's actually the expensive way to build a deck. Foam is typically less expensive, or at least it was at the time your boat was built.
Okay.
And the other thing we can see here, which we saw elsewhere, it's a little hard to see, but this is actually all woven fabrics through there, a mix of woven and non-woven fabrics. But when we look at this part here, this is mostly non-directional fabrics, and that has very little strength compared to the directional fabrics. We saw on the lid to your anchor locker, the whole inner skin was non-directional fiber. It had no strength, it was easy to cut through. This was really hard to cut through when we were cutting through it. Similarly, we saw the same thing on your baby stay. It was all held with non-directional fabric, what would be called matte. It's not chopper guns. It's not what people used to talk about, shooting fiberglass or chopper gun fiberglass. It's matte, and we're going to use biaxial cloth that has a mix of matte and directional fabrics.
Okay, thank you.